what's new on the Burlington waterfront. Hey, now it's happening at the waterfront on Lake Champlain. Whatever the weather, there's so much to do on the new waterfront, the Burlington waterfront.
Hi, welcome to On the Waterfront. I'm your host, Mariah Riggs, director of the Main Street Landing Performing Arts Center. And this month, I'm excited to have David Mullin, CEO of Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity. Welcome to the program, David.
Thanks, Mariah. Appreciate the opportunity.
So quickly, just a little for our audience, how did you end up at Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity?
Well, that's interesting. I actually was a partner in a local business. Now it's 25 years ago. I've been with Green Mountain Habitat. And I sold the business and thought, now what? And Green Mountain Habitat was looking to hire its first employee. And so at that point, we didn't have an office. I was working remote before it was fashionable to work remote. I was in my house. So they had an opportunity for a director, and it suited me. And so I was very fortunate. It's a fantastic group of people.
And you've been there for 25 years, so you must love what you do.
I do. I'm very, very fortunate. It's not only the people I work with in the organization itself, which has grown over the years, but also a lot of the people are volunteers. And so the only reason they're there is because they want to be. So that's a good environment.
Yeah, it's very enriching, right?
Yeah.
It's a very supportive community, I can imagine.
Absolutely. Yep.
So tell our audience a little bit more, Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity, what exactly do you do?
Yeah. So Green Mountain Habitat has been around now. Last year was our 40th anniversary. So we've been building in northwestern Vermont for over 40 years, building simple, decent, and affordable housing. The idea is that families don't lack the ability to carry a home, they lack capital to get into a home. And so Habitat for Humanity enables them to have this hand up, not a handout. And so we're building these homes for home ownership. We don't do any rental housing. It's all for home ownership. And so it takes 300 to 400 volunteers to build one Habitat for Humanity house.
That's an interesting statistic.
It is. That's why it's really a community event.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like an old-time barn raising.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so it's bringing the community together. People have an opportunity to offer their gift, whether that's the opportunity to make a donation or help build a house or work at our Habitat restores or bake snacks, because snacks at the construction site, everything comes to a stop.
Everybody needs food in order to build things, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
It keeps them going.
That's right. And so with such a shortage of housing, especially affordable housing, we have our work cut out for us.
Have you, kind of getting into that a little, we're jumping the gun a little bit, but have you noticed as the housing market has become more constricted in the state of Vermont that your need has become subsequently greater?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the number of people that are looking for a home in northwestern Vermont has just continued to grow. There just is this lack of what we call workforce housing or entry-level housing. And the builders are just not able to build those smaller homes and put food on their table at the same time. So the economics push for larger houses. And so those
Well, they're going to make a lot more on one construction site if it's a certain amount per square foot.
They are.
Versus something that's maybe more economical feasible for those entry-level buyers.
That's right. That's right. And so with permitting costs and zoning and all of the fees that are involved and the amount of time it takes to get through the permitting process, it has become extremely difficult and expensive to build homes.
Yeah, on some level it's cost prohibitive.
It is, and you know, when we go back and we look at some of the homes we built 40 years ago, and we still have some folks that were on the board back then, and they're saying, why are our houses 3 times more expensive when you pay as much as we do for a piece of land? Then you start out higher, and we buy land.
Yep.
Some folks think that the land is given to Habitat.
Can people, that was actually a question that I got today.
Yeah.
Can people bequeath land or give land to Habitat Humanity as part of their estate planning?
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for asking that. Absolutely. We're always in need of land. As we look to increase the number of homes that we're building, land is by far, as you can imagine, our biggest obstacle, and affordable land.
It's also a limited resource.
Yeah, absolutely. And so having somebody donate land to us, either in their will or we've had folks say, look, I can't afford to give you this, but I could discount it to you and take a tax write-off. And so
that also is an option.
Absolutely.
So, you know, that's a really amazing way maybe for some people to be able to give to Habitat Humanity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's definitely a need.
Absolutely. And now where we used to build single family little ranch house, because land is so expensive now, if we can build a duplex on that property, then we can split the land cost in half. Because Habitat buys the land, builds the house, and sells it to the family at cost.
Okay.
So there's no profit involved. And that's why the cost of a Habitat home is so much lower than a market rate home.
Okay, so that's interesting. So that's how the funding model works for families.
Right. Exactly.
And so, you know, just, I mean, you obviously have a large need, but how would somebody go about contacting Habitat for Humanity about potential homeownership?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what we tell people is don't prejudge as to whether you qualify or not. You can go right to our website, vermonthabitat.org, right there on the screen, and click on the link to homeownership. And it'll walk you right through the economics of what, you know, income-wise, where you have to be. We select families at or below 80% of median income. Okay. So it's working families, but they don't qualify for a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 house. But a Habitat for Humanity home, brand new, mortgage, tax, and insurance is typically less in payments than rent in Chittenden County.
Which isn't surprising.
Yeah. But then they're homeowners. Yeah. Then they're building capital.
No, and they're building capital, and they can invest, and they have a future. And you know, as we all know, that's sort of the chicken and egg scenario that can be so damaging in the economy, where people can never get a leg up because they're consistently paying to something that they have no equity in.
Absolutely. And even subsidized rental, thank goodness we have that. But they're not building capital. They're not building that equity in their home. And that is why Habitat only does home ownership. And the idea is to get people into that home ownership, and then they build that capital.
And for most Americans, you know, it's been shown significantly through statistics that home ownership tends to be one of the biggest financial forms of saving or investment that they have as they get older in life.
Absolutely.
Their home tends to be their biggest asset.
Yep.
And that you know, that helps create net worth and the ability, you know, people always talk about generational wealth and all those kinds of things. Homeownership is a very big cornerstone of that sort of American dream. Absolutely.
That is what has created a significant portion of the wealth in the United States, is homeownership. And so Habitat is part of that. We want to bring more and more families into that circle and help them get into, as I said, that simple, decent, and affordable housing.
Which is why I love Habitat for Humanity so much. Everything you do comes up all the time, and I can't think of a more remarkable and better organization, really.
It's a great mission, and it's a great group of people. We just have such great people.
So I have to ask because maybe some of our viewers aren't aware, but Habitat for Humanity was founded by a very famous president who recently passed. And so I will let you, David, explain Jimmy Carter's connection to Habitat for Humanity.
Well, actually, he didn't start Habitat. He's our most famous volunteer. A gentleman by the name of Millard Fuller founded Habitat, and that was in Americus, Georgia. And Plains, Georgia is right next door, and that's where Jimmy Carter came from. And so Millard Fuller actually knew Jimmy Carter when he was just a peanut farmer, and asked him, would he be willing to help Habitat? And Jimmy Carter said, well, why don't you make a list of some of the things that I might be able to do? And Millard Fuller gave him a list of 5 things and said, could you pick 1 or 2? And Jimmy Carter said, I can do those 5. And in typical fashion for Jimmy Carter. And from that day forward, he helped Habitat. He certainly brought awareness to Habitat for Humanity worldwide. And unlike a lot of folks, it wasn't just a photo op. I mean, Jimmy Carter came to the construction site with his own tool belt. And he and Rosalind Carter both worked on Habitat for Humanity homes. I have some photos of the Carters at a Jimmy Carter work project where they build 10 houses in a week, hundreds and hundreds of people. They stayed in a pup tent. Now, that was a number of years ago, but there's a...
Was he at that point a former president?
He, at that point, was a president at that point.
And he was staying in a pup tent?
Yeah, he was staying in a pup tent,
impressive.
and then there were an awful lot of people, security around that little pup tent. But they did because that's where everybody else stayed.
Such a big heart.
Amazing. The man truly led by example. And we are so grateful for what he did, not only for this country, but for families around the country and around the world, helping them get into affordable housing.
And spreading the word. And I mean, he sort of seeded the concept of Habitat for Humanity and helped propagate it.
He did. His name and connection to Habitat brought certainly a lot of awareness building to the mission of Habitat and why housing, and specifically affordable housing, shelter, is so important.
Well, I mean, you think about the basic necessities, food, shelter, and clothing. Shelter of anything, you know, like for families and individuals even, is the basis for being able to live, you know, the quality of life.
Yeah, and it's it creates such stability. You know, that's why I think employers should be standing behind Habitat for Humanity, because it enables the employees, people in the community, to have a place to live that the rent isn't going to go up and up and up. They're going to have a place that they can count on. Over and over, I can't tell you how many stories I've heard from families that have moved into a Habitat for Humanity home, and what a difference it's made for them and their family, both the adults and the children. It has the potential to change the trajectory of that
entire family. Because it's sort of the anchor.
Yeah.
You know, it's the foundation which you get to build your life on.
Yep.
And it can be really hard too with like rent shifting or, you know, concerns around how well your apartment's taken care of and all those things is very insecuring.
Yep.
And it's stressful, so that also adversely affects your life as well.
Yeah, and if the parents are stressed because of the rental environment and everything else, it's transferred right to the children.
So I wanted to ask you quickly too, Habitat also has a wonderful program, their Restores. And so can you explain the Habitat Restores and what they are and where people can find them?
Yeah, thanks, Mariah, for asking. Habitat for Humanity operates this thrift store. It's called Restore. And there are Restores all across the country run by Habitat for Humanity affiliates. And that's what we are, an independent Habitat for Humanity affiliate. We don't get any money from Habitat International. It's all raised locally. And so the Habitat restores enable us to say yes to donations of stuff, new and gently used furniture, appliances, housewares, clothing, you name it. We have stores in Williston, Milton, and Swanton. The Williston store is 15,000 square feet.
So where exactly is the Williston store? If somebody wanted to go make a donation, how would they do that?
Yeah, sure. 528 Essex Road. And so that's coming from Williston on the left-hand side as you're headed towards Essex.
Yep.
And big sign out front, Habitat for Humanity Restore. And they, we have a donation lane, and people can drop off stuff Tuesday through Sunday.
Okay.
And we're grateful for it. And we say new and gently used. Some stuff naturally should be in the dump, but it's amazing what you find that people have donated. I mean, it is, some people say, hey, I've got this chair. Some people say, hey, we're moving, take everything in the house.
Wow.
We pick up for free.
Oh, see that, all right, everyone, not only do they drop off at the Williston location as you go from Williston on 2A to Essex, they also have a pickup process. Now, how would somebody organize a pickup process?
Absolutely. You just call use the same website, and you'll speak to a dispatch person, and they'll schedule that pickup. And so, again, we pick up a chair, we pick up, a whole house full of stuff. It is, yeah.
That's incredible, because I know people who have spent, Get Junk or one of those things, and it's hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And it's probably very similar. Right. But you're actually giving it back to members of your community.
Yeah.
And it's getting recycled. It's not just going into a dump. You're helping somebody else out, and it doesn't cost you a crazy amount of money. It's an incredible community service.
It's a lot of fun, and as you said, it recycles things. And all of the money that's raised at those 3 Habitat for Humanity stores stays local. So whether you're shopping or donating, you're helping build affordable housing locally with that.
Wow, so it's just the engine.
It's
one of those engines. So the more you can engage with that system, the more you're actually helping Habitat for Humanity be able to build homes for Vermonters.
Absolutely. Local families, working families that otherwise could not afford a home.
It's such a great model.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. So check out one of those restores. That's pretty great. Now I wanted to, we talked about this. Do you have a recent project that you just worked on?
Green Mountain Habitat, as I said, covers northwestern Vermont, so Lamoille, Chittenden, and Franklin counties. Okay. We build 5 or 6 houses every year, but our board has made a commitment to move that to 10. So we are working in partnership with other organizations. That's why I said in the beginning, we're always buying land. Because if we're going to move it up to 10, we have to buy more land and we have to build more houses. We need more volunteers and more donations, whether it's through the Habitat Restore or whether it's online, a financial donation. We couldn't do it without it. We have a very, very generous community, whether it be the volunteer hours that they put in. We have some volunteers that work on the construction site. We have some that work Tuesdays and Thursdays that have worked Tuesdays and Thursdays for more than 20 years with Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity.
That's incredible. That retention rate,
yeah,
I talk to a lot of people, and a 20-year retention rate is about as amazing I've ever heard for a volunteer force.
It is.
Which shows the reward.
Yeah, it does. The camaraderie.
Yeah.
They just enjoy the opportunity to help and to work together with other like-minded people.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you get to give people a home, which is just so rewarding, right?
It is, and that's one of the things that we say, thank goodness we have lots and lots of nonprofit organizations. One of the things that's nice about Green Mountain Habitat is that you volunteer for a day. In fact, Jimmy Carter was quoted as saying, you say, okay, I'm going to give up a day. I'm going to help a family. You volunteer on a Habitat site. At the end of the day, you feel like you're the one that benefited. You know, you're like, hey, I built that wall. It's crooked, but I built that wall. And anybody can volunteer on a Habitat site. I want to make that really clear that the majority of our volunteers have never done construction before.
So that's a really good thing to mention. And that obviously, too, by volunteering, not only are you building these houses for people, but you're also maybe learning on the job site certain skills that can be translated into other aspects of your life.
Absolutely. We frequently have people who have just purchased a home and they want to learn some skills to work on their own home. And we're like, come on down.
That's wonderful. So it's almost like not only that, you're also giving people the experience so that they can become better homeowners and more competent.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the homeowners also, part of the Habitat model is that you not only qualify financially, but you have to be willing to put in sweat equity. So if it's two adults that head up a household, they have to put in 400 hours of sweat equity helping us build their Habitat home or their neighbor's Habitat home. So they know that house inside and out.
That's so great. So by the time they get into it, they know everything about it.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's so great. They build it from the ground up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another fabulous model from Habitat for Humanity. So I'm sure some people are watching this and they're wondering, how do I get involved if I want to become a volunteer? Can I find that on the website? Do I have to do an interview process? I mean, how does becoming a volunteer work?
Yeah, it's very simple.
Okay.
You can go to that website, click on volunteer. It's you can fill out a form right online. We have a schedule online. We have volunteers both at the restores, and we couldn't operate the stores without the volunteers, and the construction site. So if you want to volunteer on a construction site, there's a schedule there, and so you can pick a day that works for you and sign up to volunteer on that day.
Oh, wow.
And again, we do an orientation in the beginning. We tell you what we're going to do today, and then there are teams that work together. And you don't have to know how to build because we're not building the whole house today. We're just building one thing at a time.
Oh, and it's just one step at a time, and you never know. It's like the dice. You never know which part of the house you're going to be working on.
Absolutely. You could be painting. You could be putting up the walls.
One way to become a jack of all trades, right?
Yeah.
Is to go volunteer. So that's great. So if you are interested in volunteering, please take a look at the website. The forms are on there. Now, another question, is when are you building the homes? Is it year-round?
It is year-round.
It is year-round.
Yeah, in order to move up to 10 houses a year, we have to be building year-round. And so we do our best to enclose the house by late fall.
Okay.
It doesn't always happen, but enclose it so we can work indoors during the winter.
Okay, so the winter is after the shell has usually constructed in the summer.
That's the plan.
That's the goal?
Yeah, that's the goal, right.
With construction.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
And weather and such like that. But and so then you could be, as we said, you could be helping put insulation in the walls. You could be putting up sheetrock. You could be painting. It's a variety.
That's kind of fun, but it keeps it entertaining, right? You never know what you're going to get.
It's a lot of fun, and you take breaks, and the crews get to meet each other and talk with each other. It's amazing who you meet on a Habitat site. We also have companies have a whole team come out. It's like a ropes course because it's a team building exercise.
Oh, that is a wonderful thing. So you do have a corporate program for companies, and so if anybody's watching this too, and you have a company or an organization, and you're looking for some sort of wonderful give back program. I know people have worked with Salvation Army and like the Food Shelf and different groups. Another organization you can look at is Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity, which is a great program.
It is, and we have, it's kind of funny, we have a group come out from a company and they volunteer, and what happens is traditionally they go back and that group is talking and all jazzed up about what they did yesterday, and we get a phone call, hey, we got another team that wants to come out. So which is great. We need all of that help.
And I think too, for our community, there's a sense of being active, being able to be proactive. We know that there are housing issues in our community, and so being able to go out and feel like you're participating or helping with your own sweat equity is maybe a way to deal with some of that.
Absolutely.
And feel like you're actually doing something that's productive.
That's right. And you know, so many times we feel like, well, maybe I can't make a financial donation. What can I do? And we have people, again, that come out. They come out for one day. We have folks who have come out for years. We have people who volunteer, you know, 4 hours at the Habitat Restore. And it is contagious. In fact, we call it contagious habatitis.
Wow, it has its own term. That's great.
That once you come and you get hooked.
Wow. Okay, so everybody needs to get hooked. Let me tell you. I also wanted to talk a little bit more. So you don't get funding from Habitat for Humanity International, and I think that's important for people to realize. It is fully organically driven by local resources.
It is. The majority of the funding that we get is individual, but we also get donations from local businesses, banks, and family foundations and grants. So it's a variety of sources that come together that we have to go out and seek out in the community. And that's part of the Habitat model, is that because we're independent of the international organization, in order to ask somebody for a financial donation, you kind of have to tell them about what Habitat is doing. And that puts affordable housing on the hearts and minds of the community.
And it's also local first.
Yeah.
So it's completely driven by its own local, need or its own community.
Absolutely.
Which also, I think, in our community probably makes it a lot more resilient.
Yeah, and it's we're constantly trying to get the word out as we increase the number of houses that we're building. We need more volunteers.
You do.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
Please go on the website, try it out, volunteer. It might be one of the more enriching things you do.
I think you can almost guarantee that somebody coming out to a Habitat site or coming to a Habitat Restore, at the end of the day, you do feel like not only have you enjoyed yourself, maybe you've learned something, but at the same time, you know you've helped somebody locally.
So I kind of wanted to go through, I thought it'd be great to kind of walk through the process. If you are a family who wanted to talk to Habitat for Humanity about a house, what would be the process from applying through moving into the home?
Sure.
I think that'd be a great.
Typically, we don't. The way we work is that we buy this piece of land, we do a design for the house, and then we start taking applications for that project. So the applicants know that's the house. It's in this school district. This is what it's going to look like. I'm interested in applying for that home. They would go to our website. They fill out an application. Many times we're partnering with another organization, Champlain Housing Trust.
Okay.
And so they help families get financially qualified through a local lender. And then those qualified families come back to our Family Selection Committee.
Okay.
Which has to be the hardest volunteer committee there is, because they see so many families that I hear it over and over. They advocate. No, my family, this family that I'm working with, this is the one that.
Are you seeing an increase in the amount of applications per home?
It's interesting. At times we see a significant increase, and then at other times not. And I think what is happening, and from a marketing standpoint, we have to work at overcoming it, is that so many families feel like, I can't afford my rent. Why should I look to buy a house? Or you look in the paper and you see $500,000 for a house, this small house. I can't afford a house, so they stop looking.
How much, and I understand if you don't want to tell people, but how much is the average house for Habitat for Humanity?
Yeah. So typically when we're done, Habitat build, we have an appraisal done, a fair market appraisal done. So that establishes a starting point. Typically, the fair market value of a Habitat home is twice what it sells for to the family. And so typically, sometimes there's grants that help us lower the cost of the house and such like that. But typically the mortgage on a Habitat 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 1,200 square feet, super energy efficient home is anywhere from $125,000 to $160,000.
That's insane.
Yeah, there's no other way.
That's remarkable.
It is.
Is there a way we can make like Habitat Humanity like literally do 1,000? 1,000
We're working on it.
houses? We need to get there. Come on, Vermont.
We need those volunteers.
You know you want to.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that is such an incredible mission.
Yeah.
So, David, I just have to tell you, I have learned a lot today.
Oh, okay.
And I can't tell you, I've always been a fan
Thank you.
of Habitat for Humanity. I think it's one of the most remarkable organizations out there. Your mission is, bar none, one of the most valuable nonprofit missions, I think, for community in I guess it's the world. I used to think it was national. Yeah. Thank you so much for all you do. I very much appreciate it. You guys, if you get a chance, please go on their website. Take a look at the volunteer options. Make yourself aware with what Habitat for Humanity does. It's a great way to go out and get busy and feel like you're really participating in helping our community and helping other Vermonters get a leg up with the one thing that they need most, which is housing. So, David, again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
All right, thanks for having me.
And thank you guys for watching us this month. We'll be right back here next month. Take care.